Hello everyone. Today I'd like to talk about how Doctor Who inspires me. Doctor Who is a fictional show, TV show on BBC, and it's grown quite a bit since its inception in mid the last century. I want to say the 50s, but I don't know the exact date, 50s or 60s. But because I didn't really watch the really old ones, but I did start watching it around the 90s with David Eccleston. But Doctor Who is inspiring for a number of reasons. Here we have this alien that looks human, and he can travel throughout time and space, and he travels in a ship that looks like a police box because it was stuck on that setting because it had this kind of chameleon nature to it where it could blend in with its environment, but it got stuck on police box. And it's bigger on the inside, and it basically has a star as its engine. But there's a whole bunch of crazy scientific ideas behind the Doctor and the police box. And the Doctor is part of this alien race called the Time Lords that can regenerate, which means that they can basically live out a life in one incarnation of themselves and then regenerate, and it's kind of like reincarnation, but they have all the same memories and they have the same basic personality traits, but there's a whole lot of new personality traits with every regeneration. And the Time Lords do that to survive long periods of time, and they have mastered time and space. But that's just the background of the information. That's not really why Doctor Who inspires me. Why the show Doctor Who inspires me, and all the Doctors and all the regenerations, and the over 10 regenerations that have existed so far. I know I'm not getting the exact numbers, but this video is not really about the exact numbers. It's about why this show inspires me. Doctor Who inspires me because basically he goes around the universe, this universe, and sometimes some universes that are attached to this one, and sometimes deals with parallel universes. He goes around helping people. He goes around being a doctor. His name, the Doctor, is a promise to basically a universe, not just humanity, not just his own race, not just to any set of particular races, but a promise to the entire universe that he is going to try to fix whatever problem that is ailing them. Whatever problem he encounters, he has the intellect, he has the intelligence. Being part of a race that has mastered time and space and so many technological forms and even the fourth dimensional technology, because his police box, the TARDIS, which it shouldn't always be a police box, but it got stuck in that setting, is bigger on the inside, which means they're masters of fourth dimensional space. Being a part of that race, being with that intellect, he can solve basically any problem he encounters. But the reason why he does it is the most interesting to me. The reason why the Doctor, and he's always called the Doctor, we don't really know his real name. In a recent episode, Missy said that his real name is the Doctor, but that's contestable. We don't really know his actual name before he made the promise that made the Doctor his name. But he goes around the universe being kind. The reason why he does anything that he does, tries to help people, tries to preserve life, tries to preserve the ethical nature of societies by their own ethics, but also trying to help them in whatever problems that they have. He does it just to be kind, and it was revealed in a recent episode that basically that is the heart of what he does, is to be kind, to try to preserve as much life as possible. And this is the most human aspect of anything, really. The only reason we've survived as a race, the only reason we have society, the only reason we have civilization is that there has been a capacity for kindness, and it hasn't just all been chaos. Now, there's a quote that's really good, but I only remember part of it, so I'm going to paraphrase it. Basically, the Doctor said, true goodness is done without hope, witness, or reward. And this really made me think. Without hope, witness, or reward. And this really made me think about goodness. Like, why do we do what we do, even if we're doing things that we view as good? Is it to be rewarded in this life by other people? Is it so that people look at us better? Is it so that in the afterlife we can approach God and say, look at the good things that I've done. I'm deserving of heaven. and or is it for karma, where if we do good actions, we expect them to return? And on another note, can we do good actions without hope of truly succeeding? Is the act itself of substance without the desired result coming about? And that's why I hope the idea of without hope is so interesting to me, because if we have no hope that our efforts, our good efforts, or whatever efforts we have will produce results, would we still do them? Are we good enough people to still do them? And is this goodness to still do the right thing even if we have no hope that it will succeed? And without witness is the last part of that paraphrase that I mentioned. Without witness. A lot of the time we do good things, or we make ourselves seem more interesting than we are, because we know that people are watching us. We know that we're going to post this picture. We know that somebody's going to see this video. We know that other people are watching us when we're participating in whatever activity that we view as good or noteworthy in the world. We know that other people are watching us, and that's why we do it a lot of the time. I'd say most of the time. But I really do agree that true goodness, true virtue, is doing what is right without that witness factor, without hope of it truly coming, or the means, not the means, but the conclusion we desire truly coming to pass, and without desire for reward. And that one's probably the most obvious, but witness and hope are the more obscure. Now, in recent episodes with Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, this phrase about without witness, without hope, witness, or reward has been stated a few times, and it really made me think about goodness itself. This is why Doctor Who inspires me, because it really makes you think about what is good. What is the extent of what human beings can do for one another, and what is the extent of those actions being true compassion, as compared to selfish compassion, as compared to greed, as compared to a desire for results or desire for reward in this life or the next. What is the capacity of human beings to be truly good? And I've been inspired by Doctor Who recently, in the recent episodes, because of this. In the past, Doctor Who has inspired me for other reasons, because the idea of somebody going around the universe, seeing the universe and enjoying it, but not trying to master it, not trying to rule it, like the Master in Doctor Who does. And that's basically the Doctor's best friend, another Time Lord, but also one of the biggest villains in Doctor Who. He's insane, basically. I wouldn't say that he is evil, but I wouldn't say that he's pure evil, because he is insane, he or she. But the Master wants to be the master of the universe, whereas the Doctor, and we could call him Doctor Who, while the Doctor wants to just enjoy the universe and help the universe, preserve life where he can, help people where he can, solve problems where he can. But he wants to preserve the universe and enjoy it, but he doesn't want to rule it. And this is something that we can apply in our own lives. Do we want us or our group to rule the world, or do we want to enjoy life with the rest of humanity? Do we want to enjoy this world with the rest of humanity and not try to force them to be part of our group, whether it be political, philosophical, religious, spiritual, ethical, class-related? Do we want to enjoy life with the rest of humanity, or are we interested in ruling ourselves or with our group, or our group ruling? And that's another very interesting point that was kind of, it's not a direct quote, but it's kind of implied through episodes when the Doctor was dealing with the Master, because the Master and the Doctor have, by their names, two different promises that they have promised to the universe. Now, it is very interesting to see all these different alien races across the universe, to see how he approaches different problems, how he can solve them using his intellect, using his wit, and sometimes being prideful about it. A lot of time being prideful about it, but the core of who he is inspiring to see, to just approach every situation with the one prime directive of preserving life and not letting life also fall to slavery of any kind, whether it be the Cybermen, basically the Cybermen are kind of like the Borg in Star Trek, where they want to upgrade everybody, where everybody's uniform, everybody doesn't have emotions, and everybody is part of the same machine. Or whether it's beings that want to be served, like, I can't really name any specific races, but there's been many races in Doctor Who where those beings just want to be served, and the Daleks just want to destroy everything, so they're fairly pure evil. But just having this man who doesn't carry a gun, who just carries technological devices and his own wit, approach all these problems, kind of hints at what we can do in this world. To try and not resort to war, to violence, but to try and solve problems for just the basic purpose of kindness, of compassion, and solve them in ways that doesn't require violence as much as we can possibly do in this world of violence. This world of humanity, it's sometimes less hopeful than TV shows allow us to imagine. But there are so many people around the world that need help, and war rarely produces the desired result. Most of the time, war is basically a tool that makes more of itself, that produces kind of cloned situations around the world. One war might injure or kill people's families that weren't combatants, and then those people that are related to them might be angry and want to fight against the original attacker. And then once the people who want revenge carry out their idea of duty, of revenge, the people that they harmed want to attack back. Another thing that the Doctor said, I think it was in the Zygon episode, he said, if we want peace, we have to be prepared to forgive. If we want world peace, we have to be prepared to forgive. And sometimes when we are attacked, of course we should go after the specific people involved, but if we go after entire country, entire people, entire religion, for instance, like with Saddam Hussein when he attacked the Twin Towers in 9/11. Now, not Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden. So these terms have been interchangeable for some people, and it kind of caught me. But Osama bin Laden, when he not necessarily led, but sent these pilots to take over American planes and then plow into the World Trade Centers, and one that was going to the White House but failed, and then one hit the Pentagon. When this happened, I think that a lot of Americans, a lot of us, wanted to exact revenge, not just on Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, but basically a lot of people in the Middle East, a lot of Muslims, a lot of people that seemed a part of the group that attacked us, but while it was just Al-Qaeda, a lot of Americans wanted revenge on all brown people. And this idea of revenge just has perpetuated a war that we've been in for so long. Over 10 years in Afghanistan. It's been so long. Now forgiving in real life, it's necessary. We should also go after individuals that attacked us and apprehend them and kill them if necessary. But to go after an entire people because we were wronged by several to a couple hundred to 300, even 500 or 1,000 in a particular group of people out of that is a group of millions or billions, is foolish. To go after an entire section of the world because even 1,000 people harmed us, or 1,000 people. Let's assume that 9/11 was performed in its complexity by 1,000 people. To go after a whole section of the world because of that. To want revenge on so many people because of what relatively a handful did. Not only is it not effective, it's not compassionate. And it transforms us into a vehicle for revenge, and it takes away what we were before. It takes away what we could have been to help the world, and we start to hurt it. There have been just wars, and sometimes killing people is just, sometimes apprehending people and having to take down soldiers is just, but killing innocent people, it's never just. and we should always attempt to avoid it. And this is what the doctor always tries to do. He tries to save as many people as possible, and only kills when he absolutely has to, so he doesn't carry a gun. Now, if we can be intelligent enough to try and approach problems first without guns, at least, and how was Osama bin Laden taken down? He was taken down by SEAL Team 6. He wasn't taken down by the armies that we have in Afghanistan, or even Iraq, which didn't really have anything to do with 9/11, but it seemed like a proxy war later on. He was taken down by an elite team that found his location and took him down. It didn't require a war, but we seem to be stuck in the war that we started. Now, Afghanistan might have been harboring Osama bin Laden for a while, but the entire country paid for something that a relatively small section of it did. Many women and children and that were non-combatants, babies, many men who were non-combatants bombed to death. Now, when we look at these terrors in the world, when we look at these horrors, we can take lessons from fiction.